Hey guys, Dwayne here. Today I want to talk a little bit about covert narcissism and how it impacts our children and how your ex is able to use that technique to manipulate, triangulate, and basically use your children as surrogates or flying monkeys in this whole process. The big problem with covert narcissism is that it's very subtle. It's not overt. It's not in your face. It really lives in the gray areas, and if you're not looking for it, you can't detect it, and you don't really know that it's going on. One of the key components of covert narcissism is its passive-aggressive nature. Now, this is a significant issue with this because your ex is able to do things in a really covert way, and to where it makes it really hard to detect what they're actually doing and what they're trying to get across. One of the things they'll do is they'll say one thing and do something different, or they'll talk around a subject to denigrate someone else or denigrate you, to try to plant a seed that something's going on. That's really significant whenever it's directed towards your children, because they can use seemingly benign comments to try to have your kids think or get the impression that something isn't quite right. I mean, it's basically a form of parental alienation, but a covert narcissist is really adapted to actually doing this technique. I've noticed in my own situation where I'll have conversations with my children and they will talk about how mommy doesn't ever say anything bad about you. You don't come up or whatever. And then as conversations continue and more information comes out, it'll become clear that little subtle comments are being made to drive an agenda and an opinion to undermine your character and the person you are. One of the examples I've used in the past on this is the conversations I had with one of my kids where they said that their mom came in, tucking him into bed, and out of the blue brought up a conversation about a mutual friend, well, not, somebody that they know, and said, well, and I'll just use the name Billy, your dad tried to get Billy fired from work. And right before this conversation even happened, I was talking with my kid about this, and basically saying, does mommy ever talk bad about me or anything like that? And it's like, oh no, she never says anything bad about you. And then it's like, so this came up and it's like, well, your mom is telling you that somebody that that I tried to fire or get terminated from his job. How is that not talking bad about somebody? And see, and that's what I mean by this. The covert nature is, it's not that they are going to your kids and saying, daddy's a piece of crap and he's a horrible human being. It's little subtle comments of examples like, oh, well, this happened. I don't know what to, and what do you think about that or whatever. And it's planting the seed. Bottom line, guys, the issue with this is that they're able to, in a covert, nearly undetected way, have these conversations and plant these the seeds of deceit in your kids. Now, the important part about this is you need to understand that so you can recognize that it is actually happening. It is going on, and to make sure that you measure your interactions with your own children so that you don't reinforce or prove those comments that the ex is trying to make. So you have to take steps to make sure that you don't validate or reinforce the false narrative that your ex is trying to say about you. Now, in the first example where I was talking about the employee getting fired, fortunately, that whole situation happened a couple of years ago, and I had communicated that with one of my kids and talked about it so that he was aware of what was going on and knew the truth behind it. So he blew it off, and so I kind of broke that one off, or cut that one off at the pass, so to speak. When that conversation happened and he basically downplayed it and it didn't get the proper effect that she was looking for, because it's covert and it's subtle and it's passive aggressive, it's really easy to back off on it. I mean, so the key on this is that this type of behavior is, in my opinion, incredibly destructive, because it's very subtle, and you can twist and weave and bob and move in it whenever, depending on how it's going. And what I mean by that is that you do it calm enough to where, or she's able to do it subtle enough to where if something doesn't seem quite right, or let's say the kids aren't really buying it, you just back off on it and you just blow it off. It's not like you're getting in there saying, this is the way it is, and this is the answer, or this is who they are. It's very subtle. A lot of this has to do with just understanding, your opponent in this, what they're doing, what their techniques are, so that you can set up, I guess, defenses, if you want to call it that, to deal with it and to diminish the impact of it. Now, building a relationship with your kids is really the main way you defend this. Where they may, however they want to interact with the other parent or with their mom, in my situation, is irrelevant, because there's the relationship at their mom's house, and then there's a relationship at my house. So, I mean, it's annoying, and that's part. See, guys, and that's part of the issue. Is it's one of those things that's kind of triggering, right? You can have two different reactions. You can basically, with your kids, get mad about it and have a conversation with it and try to defend every little thing, which makes you appear like you're defensive. It makes you appear like you're bad-mouthing the other parent because you're saying that, what they're saying isn't true. And again, it's another one of those passive-aggressive things where they're actually able to, if your kids engage with you on it, is to further cause damage between you and your child, because they're going to take anything you say as you saying, basically calling their mom a liar. So bottom line on this, you really have to look at what's going on and decide when it's appropriate to fight it and when it's better just to let it go. Most of the times you're actually better off, in my opinion, not directly dealing with it and not directly confronting those allegations, but you're better off whenever you can demonstrate through action that it's not true. We all would really like our kids to basically defend us, fight for us. Realistically, even if you're not going to know either way. Your best indicator is how your relationship is going with your child, whether your communication is increasing and the bond that you have is getting stronger, and that's really the gauge to know that you're doing the right thing. If what you're doing is causing things to get more stressful, if your kid's withdrawing from you, maybe they're becoming more agitated, or every time you say something that could potentially be perceived as a negative against the other parent, even whenever they're not really in the conversation, you're going down the wrong road, because they're hypersensitive, thinking that you're talking bad about them. Now, the problem with that, like I said, is we all get caught up in this phase where we want to defend ourselves. When we find out that we're being talked about, subtle, even if it's subtle, you want to do something about it. But again, the problem is when you do that, you're actually, the only way to really do it, if you attack it straight on, is you're basically attacking the other parent. And your children are going to see it, and they're going to think, because it's a stark contrast. They're being covert about it, they're being subtle, you're trying to deal with it directly, and it makes it look like you're going after the other parent. So again, your best option on this is to take a step back. Don't take the bait, because basically you're being baited. You're not being baited directly by your ex, you're being baited through your kids. And pause, don't take the bait, and work on building a relationship with your child. Okay, I'm going to wrap this video up. If you have some comments you want to add about how covert narcissism has really complicated your relationship with your kids, and maybe some of the steps that you've been able to utilize to try to defend that, leave those in the comments below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you like the channel, please subscribe. And if you know somebody who could benefit from this information, please share it with them. And I will talk to you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye.